Has started. So, just for people that are watching this later, this PLD Hui Kōrerō is all about thinking about how do we blend level 2 and level 3 chemistry. Obviously, that is a real big challenge because you're trying to now work over multiple year levels of disciplinary. So I'm really glad that you reached out and asked me this question because it was something that we were considering at my school at one point as well, which really terrified me as a teacher because I don't know how people do it, especially with like the sciences. I know it's quite common for like the foreign language classes to do it, but for a science-based class and being practical-based, it is quite overwhelming, I would say. And I'm guessing that's how you're feeling as well.
Yes.
So first off, anything that you kind of want to like elevate as like the main focus of this Kōrerō?
Well, I suppose I had planned year 12 and year 13.
Yeah.
And then I had a few students who changed options, which then threw my planning a bit. So I suppose I was sitting down to rearrange for the next 2 terms.
Yes.
And talking to myself, trying to work out what the best solution would be for these students. So it would be really nice to talk through that.
Yes, because you're a sole chemistry teacher at your school, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been that before, and that is also not fun either.
Yes. Yeah, so sometimes it's much better to talk these things through. And I can with my HOD, but she's not a chemistry specialist, so she doesn't quite know the intricacies of the...
Yes, yeah. The sciences, even though you are like an HOD of science, like I could not teach physics. I have no idea what the needs are for a physics teacher.
Yes.
I have a rough idea for what a biology teacher needs, but obviously I'm mostly chemistry, so I know exactly what needs to get done. So break down, what is your class kind of looking like at the moment?
So we have 2 year 13 students, one of whom took 2 years to get his level 2.
Right, got you.
So he did level 2 twice with me, and now he's in level 3.
Yeah.
He has some learning difficulties.
Okay.
So
and then you have another one as well?
Yes, and then we have a second student who's head boy.
Oh, wow, that's a huge discrepancy between your year 13s then.
Yes.
Yeah, and then how many year 12s do you have?
And then I have 9 year 12s.
Right.
And this year is unusual because generally I've had 2 to 4 year 12s.
Right.
And so doing a mixed class this year is quite a different scenario.
So do you normally have mixed classes for chemistry?
Yes.
But they're mostly year 13?
3 years of mixed classes, I once got them separated.
Right.
But I gave up my free periods to separate them.
Oh, wow. That is commitment to do that. Yeah. Okay. So you are an experienced chemistry teacher by the sounds of it.
Yes. I've taught on and off since 1999.
Okay. So you know, and you're also picking up other things like biology and math by what you've mentioned in your email?
I've taught, my second subject is maths.
Got you.
Yes.
Got you. So yeah, you're kind of a jack of all trades, which isn't surprising if you're working at like a smaller school or things like that, because you kind of pick up and fill in blanks as you need to. Got it. So
I came back as a relief teacher and then as a after kids, and then picked up the odd science class, the odd maths class, and then finally got chemistry back.
Yay!
Yes.
Yeah, because chemistry, like it is a really unique subject because we can be very practical heavy. We do require math skills. We do require writing skills. It's quite a blend, I would say, of the requirements between when we think about physics and when we think about biology, because biology is very literacy heavy, whereas physics is very numeracy heavy.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting subject that we're in. So my next question for you then, I have a written to-do list to make sure that we get a good kōrerō out of this is, before I move on, so I know there's different sort of goals that we set at different schools. So if you're thinking about your level 2 students, are you just trying to give them credits to help them achieve level 2, or are you actually trying to get like subject endorsements in passing chemistry?
So generally, in the past, I've always had those few top students doing the chemistry. So I've had 2 or 3 who are all excellent students.
Gotcha.
They're all going for ducks. They're brilliant. they learn quickly.
Mm.
This year is different. I've got a huge range of abilities. Some of their maths is quite lacking. For instance, integers, they had no idea.
All right.
Just multiplication
Gotcha.
Problems, really basic.
Sometimes you're teaching them basic algebra so they can do oxidation numbers.
Yes.
Yeah, I know that feeling. All right. So you do have a sliding range then of what you're trying to do goal-wise.
Yes.
So it does need to be a very personalized program by the sounds of it.
Yes.
Got you. Okay. And so I'm guessing you're familiar with the chemistry matrices that list out all the standards?
Yes.
All right. I'm just going to download one and pull it up for us. So that way you can look at it. Tricks. I did download it earlier, but I'm just kind of doing it on the computer so that way people that are watching this can actually see the process of how to find things. And then I'll share my screen once it's downloaded, so that way we can talk through it together. We'll allow that to happen. We'll close that, and we'll go back to this here. And I want to share my screen, and we specifically, hopefully, get the chemistry matrix. Okay. Cool. So that should now be seen.
Great.
Awesome. It is. So let me just open that up. So what are you currently thinking for your level 2 course that you want to do as standards? And I'll just highlight them so we know as a reference point.
So we're doing redox at the moment.
So redox for both your levels or just for the level 2s?
We just completing redox for both.
Okay.
Level 2 and level 3.
So using these two, let me just highlight them. So I just want to see what your course is currently so we can decide if it's the best course of action. Let me see. How do I highlight that? You're not letting me do that. Oh, maybe table layout. Design? That's so bizarre. Why is it not letting me change it? I might just write it on my piece of paper then instead.
Okay.
All right. So you are currently doing for level 2 and level 3. I'm just going to write it down so we can.
So we started level 2 with chemistry basics, which they needed.
Okay.
And
so you were just teaching chemistry basics as a general thing. You weren't tying it to any standard, were you?
No.
Okay.
No. So I decided to do.
Let me stop sharing this screen.
As an introductory topic, they missed quite a lot of science teaching over the last 3 or 4 years.
Sure.
So they had huge gaps and they needed to be filled in.
Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out which is the best option for what I want to do.
That's okay.
I'm just going to share. No, what are you doing? Presenting has started. Cancel. Presenting. Why is it not leaving me the option to show my document camera? That is bizarre. Oh, well, it is recording at least. Can I at least show it? Cancel. Turn off camera. Present now. Google, that one, window. There we go. Now we finally got it. Share that. Okay. So that way we can see my document camera instead. Void infinity. Yes, I know that. Okay, cool. So you said you started the year level or started teaching with, you were talking about just general chemistry review?
Yes.
So we have the level 2 course and the level 3 course.
If it helps, I could share my timeline with you.
No, it's okay. I'm happy to jot things down.
I'm planning to jig it a bit.
Okay, so level 2 and level 3, we're both doing general recall.
So, yes, because level 3, they had missed some topics because of my accident.
Yeah.
I was away for a term and a half completely, so they were working solo, so they were behind.
So both basic revision is what they were both on.
Yes.
And then you moved on to redox.
Yep.
So redox, in this case, you're looking at 2.7.
Right.
And you were smart to pair it with the level 3s. So that way they're both doing similar things. Cool. So you're then doing redox and then looking back at the matrix. What are you doing after that? What's your plan?
So next I was thinking of getting some structure and bonding done.
Okay. So this is for the level 2s?
We covered some at the start of the year.
Yeah.
And they need those basics.
Yeah.
So I thought we would get a chunk for the externals done.
Cool. I'm just going to write that this is Taryn's plan. All right, so structure and bonding, and then what are you going to have the year 13s working on?
So I thought I would do a thermochemistry with the year 13s.
Yeah.
And because one of my students didn't do structure and bonding last year because
those two parallel really well.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then at least I can keep in my head what's going on.
Yeah. All right, and then after you do structure and bonding and thermochemistry, what are you planning on doing next?
So for my level 3s, I was planning on doing spectroscopy as a lead into organic.
Yeah. Cool.
And then for my level 2s, I had decided to do titrations.
Sorry, 3.2.
How that's going to fit.
And then organic is 3.5, isn't it?
Yes.
And then for structure and bonding, you're planning to move into titration, which is 2.2? 2.1. Sorry. Cool. All right, so then I have titration and spec organic.
That's it.
Okay, and then anything else for the rest of the year?
So I was hoping to do, I would normally go on and finish for the level 2s, go on to organic.
Yep. Okay, and that's 2.5.
Have it as your choice, either revision or aqueous.
Right.
For those students who wanted to do all three.
Are you talking about level 3 now, so the aqueous?
Oh, sorry, no, I'm still talking about level
2. So you're talking about the reactivity.
Yes,
I call it reactivity. That's the one that's the types of the acid bases, that whole shebang. So I call it reactivity. I don't know if other people call it reactivity, but that's the one that looks at equilibrium, pH, and then rate of reaction. Yeah. Okay, so that's 2. I want to say 6. I have my notes here.
2.6?
Yeah, 2.6. Yeah. So we have an internal, an external, an internal, an external, and an external.
Yep.
And then for your level 3s, you're doing an internal, an external, spec is an internal, and then organic is your external. And
then one of my students doesn't want to do organic.
Right.
So he'll do aqueous instead.
Right. So you're also thinking about aqueous, which is that 3.6. I've actually never taught aqueous.
So I find some students either really love it or really don't.
Yeah.
It's my least favorite to teach.
Yeah.
But some students really enjoy it.
Yeah, I heard when I first started teaching that my HOD at the time at my previous school didn't want to teach aqueous because a lot of students picked it, and she felt that thermo or organic were easier externals. And she also felt that organic was more useful for university than aqueous. So that was the advice I was given.
So I love organic, so I would never leave it out. But, I questioned my thoughts because my son's doing year 13 at another school.
Yeah.
And so the topic that they are missing out this year is organic. And I was like, no,
that's not the one you want to miss out on. All right.
But he said he only wants to do 2 externals.
Right.
He's a slow processor, slow writer, so he doesn't want to do more
he needs
than
that extra hour.
3 hours.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Okay, so that sounds like a really well thought out plan, but are you feeling that this might not work?
I'm concerned because of the pace that some of the students want to go at. I think it's going to be a push.
Okay.
And because the larger numbers teaching both year 12 and year 13, I think we're going to be pushed.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think this setup, I can see that you've made some really good decisions to optimize efficiency, but I can see this going to be potentially risky for you and really exhausting for you to do. And you're going to have to make some compromises, I think, in your program for this to work. And I have thought that through. So I'll show you kind of what I would do if I was given in your situation.
Great, thank you.
So I first want to kind of talk through, this is what my plan was when I was at Selwyn College. We were very concerned at that school to make sure that kids got subject endorsements. So that was kind of the goal for our school at that point. Every assessment mattered in your specific subject because we wanted them to all pass, and we want them to get, level 2 chemistry with excellence endorsement. So that was kind of where we were thinking at that school. That has obviously changed now that I'm working at Edgewater College, which is a high equity index school. And the reason why that's shifted is because our goals have changed. The main thing that we're trying to focus on is quality learning to prepare them for their next stage. So for us, it's okay if they don't pass level 2 because what we want is our credits to count toward. It's okay if they don't pass level 2 chemistry because our goals are actually we contribute as many credits as possible to passing level 2. We also are very mindful that we want them to do really good foundational learning so that way they can then be prepared for university.
Yeah.
So the prize and the reward and the statement is not the important thing for us. It is the quality of what these kids are getting when it comes to their learning. And we're also very mindful that because it's a high equity index school, we have more barriers in place, such as literacy levels, numeracy levels. A lot of our kids are working second jobs to help contribute to the family. So there's just a lot more things on their plate that you can't nag these kids like, oh, you're not on track to get subject endorsement for chemistry. Like that is not on the radar because there's other things. So because our focus at my previous school, Selwyn, was mostly on can we get subject endorsements, we were more balanced with the internal-external component. We did a lot more internals and fewer externals so that way we could ensure they got those subject endorsements. So you mentioned in your program that you want to look at titration and redox, which we also do. We do structure and bonding and organic. At Selwyn, we dropped the reactivity because we thought it was too similar to what they were doing previously.
Level 1.
Yeah. I personally wanted to include ion identification. One, because I wanted to beef up my internals. But two, I thought ion identification, which is now qualitative analysis, leads really well into titration, which is quantitative. Because the two kind of key things that we need them to understand, in my opinion, is what are the different forms of data we gather. So usually we ask, what is it? And then how much is it?
Yes.
So that's why I want to do that as introductory stuff.
That's one of my questions I had for you was about adding in that identifying ions.
Yeah.
One, because our students don't typically tend to do well in externals.
Yes.
They lack confidence and practice and time to revise. And
totally understand all of that. So that was kind of my thought process with these two. I dropped the the reactivity, because the core things from reactivity that I wanted them to know, which is about pH and about equilibrium, and that not all reactions go to like completion. That stuff I can actually teach at level 3 in that research-based internal chemical processes. I could teach all that material in ocean acidification. So that's why I dropped that external.
Okay.
At level 2, because I knew at level 3 I was going to have them do this specific topic, and that topic goes really well when it comes to trying to hit multiple requirements that you want from a learning perspective. And don't worry, I will scan these and send them through to you, so that way, if you want these notes, you can have these notes.
Thank you.
The other thing to keep in mind is the equity index. So at Selwyn College, it's labeled at 416, which is few. So a lot less kind of issues that come up in that situation. And I'll show you now what I've done with this is a bit of a mess. So this is what I do at Edgewater College at a high equity index school. So keeping in mind that I need more time for my students to process, I've dropped some things. So essentially I've gone from having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 standards. I've dropped one in order to give them more time to process. The one that I decided to drop was organic chemistry, which I had a really hard time coming to terms with because I love organic chemistry and I think it's really important and critical. But the reason why I dropped it was when I see them at level 3 and I teach them organic, I'm basically starting from step 1. They do not retain the knowledge from level 2. So that's why I decided I'm dropping level 2 organic. And there's not too much difference when it comes to level 2 and level 3 organic. So that was my kind of thought process and why I did that. And then what else did I write on here? Yeah. So what we have at my school currently is we have a level 1 science. We have 2 level 1 science classes. The one that is the generic kind of one. And then if kids are really keen to go into engineering or if they want to go into medicine, they have to take a second option line then of science. So they're taking 2 option lines of science.
Right.
And in that second option line, which is called the Science Academy version, so they have practical science and Science Academy. Anyone's welcome to take it. It's not a streamed course. It just gives them more time to learn science. So in the Science Academy course, I was starting to pick some of the level 2 standards to bring down to level 1 so they can have that extension. And actually, organic chemistry was one of the ones that I brought down for them. So they had a head start for basically year 13.
Okay.
The other important thing that I came to learn in my high equity index school is that you don't have to feel this pressure of you need to complete all the teaching for the standard first before moving on to the next one.
Yes.
So what I do is like bits and pieces. So like, for example, just like you were talking about how you did revision for both, for what I do at level 2 at Edgewater College is I will do a little bit of structure and bonding first, and then I would do ion identification. And specifically, and I'll just zoom it in so you can see it a bit better. This is my document camera. I just gave them a little taster of structure and bonding. One, so that way they got a sense of what externals feel like for chemistry. Yes. And I used it as a guideline to review atomic structure and ions. And I basically only taught them just enough so that way they can write some of the exam questions comparing metals and ions. So it was a good starter. Yes. Once they got that kind of understood, we then jumped straight into ion identification. So we didn't finish that topic at all. And in fact, I made structure and bonding the last topic I taught. Okay. Because then it's closer to the exam. So that's how that got organized for level 2. So my level 2 course went a little bit of structure and bonding, ion identification, titration, and then I think I did redox. No, I left redox to the very end. I did, I think, more structure and bonding. So that way kids can, I don't know, this can be flexible in how you do that.
Yes.
You can either finish redox or you can do the structure and bonding. There's pros and cons to each one. I'd probably do the redox first, get all their internals out of the way, because that way they feel confident and relieved that they have their credits. And then if they want to, they can do structure and bonding. I also was mindful I might have some students that don't want to do the exam. So they could do the 2.3, the research of current technology. Okay. I have an assessment for that under the graphene topic. So looking at, which pairs well with the structure and bonding. I have the opinion with my level 2 course that regardless of, unless the kid was specifically not planning to take level 3, and said, look, this is my last year of chemistry, then I would be like, cool, do 2.3 for me, get 3 more credits.
Okay.
If they are planning to do level 3, then I would say, I want you to do the structure and bonding. Even if you think you're going to fail it, I want you to do it in order for you to understand what a chemistry exam feels like. The reason why is because when they take level 3 chemistry, there's no way for them to get 14 credits unless they sit an exam. So I said, treat this like a practice year to get used to the exam, so that way next year you will feel ready.
That's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, and that's basically because a lot of kids will just opt out. They'll just be like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to fail. But it's like, actually, it's okay you fail. In fact, if you want to take level 3 chemistry, I want you to sit the exam. You don't have to pass the exam to get into level 3 course. I just want you to sit it. So.
I think I've pushed the kids quite hard because I've always made them do at least 2.
Yes.
In the 3 hours, and I think now, oh gosh, was I too harsh on them?
Yeah, well, that was kind of the thing, and that's the other reason why it helps them kind of feel more relieved. Like, you have 3 hours to do this one exam,
yes,
and that helps them feel a lot better. And then they're not, and that's why I removed the choice of organic from that, so they're not umming and ahhing. Do I do the organic exam? Do I do structure and bonding? I made the choice for them. Then, when it comes to level 3, this is how I've kind of done it. So we start with redox because I want them to get some credits in the bag. So I think it was the right call that you started with redox. Since they also finished the year with redox, it's nice that they can...
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's a nice carry on. Then I teach some organic. Now, organic I find is really hit and miss with kids. It's far more popular at my high equity index school than it is at my previous school, which was few problems. And I think the reason why is because organic, you don't have to do a lot of writing. The thought process itself shows that you're at excellence level. I often say to kids when they're trying to decide between thermochemistry and organic, I say organic is probably easier to get the excellence on, but harder to get the achieved on. Whereas thermo, it's easier to get the achieved, harder to get the excellence. So kids can then decide which one works for them. I allow them to take both of them, or they can just take one of them. It's really up to them and what their needs are. I also am very mindful. I don't want to spread my kids too thin. And if they're trying to revise 2 exams, they might end up failing both because they've done too much. So I take away that pressure. I give them that choice, but I basically say, look, on the mock exams, you need to show me you can at least pass one of them to feel confident that you're going to pass. So we do redox. We do the basics of organic, so naming, drawing, functional groups, structural isomers. So keep in mind, this is their first taste of organic. The reason why I teach them a little bit of organic and then we do all of spec is because I want them to get a good taste of what organic chemistry is like, because for some kids, it never clicks. And I have a bias towards organic, but I know there's kids that just hate organic, did not enjoy spec, and then I go, cool, if that is how you feel, I want the exam that you do to be thermal chemistry. So it helps them make those decisions. So we do a little bit of organic, we do spec, we assess spec, and then before we jump back into the externals, I then do the ocean acidification, because that one is a research-based internal that they do by themselves. That's the chemical processes. I do some teaching with that because I want to make sure that they understand, equilibrium and pH, and also how we have weak acids and weak bases and everything else. So it goes really nicely with that. And then and the reason why I want to teach that to them now is because I will pick up organic. So those that are not sitting the organic exam can use that class time to work on ocean acidification. If they are planning to sit organic, well then you can listen along with me and do organic chemistry with me. If they are doing the ocean acidification, I always check in to make them have SMART goals at the start of each lesson and making sure that I can check in on them and see what progress they've made. So they're not just kind of losing sight of what needs to be done. Once I finish teaching the organic, I then teach the thermal chemistry as my last standard. Those that are only sitting organic chemistry can then use that time for ocean acidification. If they want to sit both exams, then they keep with me following them around the thermal chemistry. The risk they run, though, is that if they're sitting both exams, that means I am not giving them any class time to do ocean acidification. So they have to be really self-disciplined if they're going to do that.
Yes.
So the way this works out is that they can get 14 credits with just one exam. Some of them I know are applying for Otago Health Science and they need 18. So this still gives them the chance to get over 18 credits as well.
Okay. So
I'm trying to cater towards everyone, like you are probably trying to do as well. The other thing I keep in mind is backup and safety nets. So I'm very mindful that some of these kids may not be able to pass level 3 chemistry, and we still want them to get a UE approved subject. So things to watch out for is that if the kid is taking multiple sciences, it will automatically combine those sciences together to make a general level 3 science course. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't realize that.
Yes.
No, I didn't know that.
So you need to be aware of those, your 13 students, if they're taking an additional science and how they are doing in those additional science classes. Because if they're not doing well, then you can be like, okay, and you can talk to the Fano as well. We're going to merge level 3 bio with level 3 chem together, make a general level 3 science course, and that's still a UE approved subject.
Oh, that's brilliant to know about. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a trick that we've learned at my school.
So you have to, as a school, combine them into one course?
Yes, and it should do automatically because that's how it's always worked at our school. So it's worthwhile just checking with your HOD. I don't know if it's something specific that Edgewater has realized it can do or if the system does it automatically through like NZQA.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But they do that. If the kid is doing really well in their second science, let's say they're going to pass level 3 bio, but they won't pass level 3 chem, there's stuff you can do to get them the extra credits to convert level 3 chem into a general science course.
Ah, that's fantastic. I'm so pleased to hear I've had this situation come up.
Yes. So, for example, the reason why I picked ocean acidification is because ocean acidification can also be used as a context to do the Earth and Space Science standard on socio-scientific issues. So the kids, I
have a friend who teaches that.
Yeah. So basically you can have the kids take one set of research and write multiple reports and tackle multiple internal assessments. So that's specifically why I chose ocean acidification. And there it is.
And the students seem to enjoy that?
They love it. They really enjoy it because it's a lot of the kids are concerned about climate change. And ocean acidification is like another layer to climate change that they have not like occurred to them before. So they quite like it. And there's ways you can also tweak it to also fit the socio-scientific issue with biology as well. So it's a really useful topic that it hits multiple points. It's a really good example of a cross-curricular science course or science topic.
This year, all my chemistry students are doing biology at level 2.
Okay. That's cool. Yeah. So that is kind of like how I've designed the program at Edgewater College, keeping in mind that I do have enough to have a separate level 2 and level 3 course. The level 2 and level 3 course are also different enough that I tell kids, if you haven't done level 2 chemistry, you're actually okay to jump into my level 3 course because there's not a lot of overlap from the previous year. So
you treat it as a 2-year course?
I treat it as 2 separate courses. So like I have kids that have like come to me at the end of last year who are like, oh, miss, I thought I liked physics, but I didn't. And now I want to swap. I don't want to do level 3 physics. Can I do level 3 chemistry? And I go, yeah, of course you can, because the stuff that I'm teaching in level 3 doesn't parallel that much to level 2. So the only real benefit coming from level 2 to level 3 is redox and structure and bonding. And that's only if they're taking the thermochemistry exam. If they're not taking the thermochemistry exam, then really the only thing that's really benefiting them from last year is the redox. And redox is really easy to pick up. And yeah, so that is kind of my setup at Edgewater.
Oh, that's really good to see.
Yeah. So I will now kind of show you my thought process of what I would do if I was to do a combo course at Edgewater, which hopefully never happens, but it is very likely considering it's such a small school. So,
what are your numbers?
We're a school of about 660 at the moment.
Okay.
And that's pretty small considering we're in Auckland. Yeah, so.
And how many in your level 2?
Ooh, so because I'm on mat leave, I don't actually know the numbers off the top of my head. I can tell you from last year, I had probably about 20 in my level 3 course, and I had about 15 or 16 in my level 2 course.
Oh, that's nice numbers.
Yeah, and my numbers always increase from level 2 to level 3 because people hear about, they want to take it because they hear I'm teaching it and everything else. So, yeah, those things are definitely factors. Anyway, so what I've done is I've taken that matrix and I've put out everything and written my notes and tried to think about how would I combine it together and what was similar. I made similar kind of associations that you did, like structure and bonding and thermochemistry belong together because they're both same material. Level 2 and level 3 organic belong together because, again, similar material. Level 2 and level 3 redox, similar material. Let's pair them together. So those are kind of things that I thought about. The other thing I thought about was, okay, reactivity has that equilibrium pH stuff, which I can tie into my ocean acidification. I also think about spec because spec ties in with organic. So I had the same sort of thought process that you had going through. So this is why I was asking you that question of what is the goal. This is what I would do if I had a level 3 and a level 2 blended course. So for level 3, I would do let me backtrack. So I am trying to think, how can we teach these 2 courses in parallel as much as possible so that way it reduces my load as a teacher, which you are obviously questioning right now. So first topic that I would do is structure and bonding and thermochemistry because there's so much parallel between the 2. And then I would move on to redox, again, because there's so much parallel. In fact, I was talking to some of my workmates that are also chemists, and I said to them, do you think you can make the level 3 the level 3 chemistry internal count towards level 2? Because they're very similar.
Yes.
And basically I said, could we double dip on this assessment? So that way, if I had a blended course, my year 12s could have the option of having it as level 2 credits and as level 3 credits. And the general consensus was, yes, it should be possible. I haven't thought beyond that. I kind of left that for them to kind of think about. But
I did think about that too when I saw you questioning that.
Yeah.
And I actually thought a lot of students leave at the end of level 2.
Exactly.
So I thought, well, lots of other subjects, they gain level 3 credits in year 12. And I thought, well, why not?
Yeah.
It seems almost that
exactly
they could
the same.
move on to electrochemistry.
The only difference is that now we're applying the redox to a specific example. So I thought you can double dip and do one assessment, and it's such a great confidence booster for those year 12s to be like, I have level 3 credits in the bag now.
Yes.
So just double dip it was my thought process. The next thing that I would then think about as an option would be the reactivity external for the level 2s, because the main things that you want to bring out of that, if you're doing ocean acidification, is equilibrium and pH. And then you can divide the class up once you've taught those topics. You can be like, all right, level 2s, we're going to work on the reactivity external, and year 13s, you're going to be working on the ocean acidification internal. So that means you have one set of teaching for these two, and then you can bridge them into what assessment they need for that material. And then lastly, I would finish off with organic with the spec for the level 3s. So that's kind of what I would think about. So I've reduced the course down. There's only 4 standards here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish standards here. Because what we have to then think about is, okay, what is going to be the final outcome if people pass this course? So the year 13s, they have up to 19 credits. They can drop one external and still pass. So they're going to be the priority because we're trying to get them ready for university. The level 2s, and this is where I deviate a lot from your course that you've designed, is it's mostly external heavy, which then is riskier, but content learning wise, this is actually really good prep for year 13. So those are kind of the things you have to balance. The other thing that I wrote down that was kind of something that I was like, I'm really upset that I'm missing this, is that it's quite, and you probably noticed this as well, level 3 chemistry is quite dry when it comes to experiments.
Yes.
There's not a whole lot of experiments to do, whereas level 2, there's so many experimental assessments. So it's such a weird change. So that's something that I did note, is that it is missing a lot of the experimental aspects that level 2 has. It also means that this hybrid course is missing the qualitative and quantitative comparison, which I think we mentioned it earlier. So the thing that I keep in mind with being a teacher at Edgewater is that we don't need to assess everything that we teach. So in theory, you can still teach them about qualitative versus quantitative analysis. You just don't need to assess them for it. So you can still put it in as a lesson and show them some examples. I personally think a lot about spec, because with spec, the main thing we're trying to figure out is what is the molecule that's there. And then I show them the other thing to think about, which I would show them if I was teaching this hybrid course, is I would show them my master's thesis. Because my master's thesis was all on looking at combination drug therapy and looking at the concentration of these drugs and how did they affect people. So that is specifically, a quantitative analysis that I was doing. So I show them my thesis, and I could show them look, there's the option of using all these machines to figure out what it is. My question though was, what is it? Or sorry, how much do I have? Because that's going to affect the toxicity of it. So that is a real way for me to show them the two differences without having to do a whole lot of assessment for it. The thing is, though, after you do this hybrid course, you now have level 2 students that have done this, so you have to reevaluate what you do at level 3.
Yes.
Which is fine. So, and I wrote it down here. You can start thinking about, okay, how can I extend them? If they have done the level 2 course of the hybrid and now they're here again at level 3, these are the courses that I've taught or that we're going to cover, but some of it they've already maybe have done, or maybe they want more extension. I think a great one that you could do the next year you have the hybrid course and you have these year 12s as year 13s is you could do 3.1, that investigation one, which is titration based. Now, I have never done that one because it's a real expensive pain in the butt one. But
yes, I was told not to do it.
Yes, I was told not to do it too. And I was also told they do it under biology and physics, so don't bother for chemistry. But honestly, if you have 5 students or 4 students that are carrying over from level 2 to this new level 3 course in the hybrid, that'd be a perfect thing for them to do. Because why they can either redo the assessments like ocean acidification and try to get it or under a different topic, because you can't do the same topic twice. So they can either try to improve their grades or they can work on some other stuff in the matrix. So they can jump ahead and start doing this one here, or maybe they want to do aqueous. There's lots of options. This then allows you to do that quantitative analysis. So, because I think I've heard people doing titration-based stuff, looking at vitamin C,
yes,
and confirming if the concentration is correct.
Yes.
So it's basically titration again,
yes,
except not in vinegar.
Yes.
So I've never looked into that standard, but that could be an option for the combo class in the following year.
Yes. So save the titrations for the following year.
Potentially, yeah. And
or I could alternate between the years depending on.
Yeah, you can have some fun with it, and also you can have them do titrations and not assess it, just so they can understand the process of what titration is.
That's true.
Yeah, it's really hard for us as teachers to because we're so assessment focused. We have to remember that not everything needs to be assessed.
Yes. Well, I taught them iron identification, but I decided not to assess it. And they really enjoyed it.
Exactly.
It was a wonderful topic to do.
Yeah, and also since they're already doing structure and bonding, the ion identification, even if you're not assessing them on it, is still good for them to learn, because now you're understanding, okay, why are some of these ionic compounds making precipitates and why are some of them not? So
I think it made so much more sense to them having done that.
Oh, yeah, it would.
At the actual experiments.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to check my notes to see. So now that we've thought about that, has that kind of altered what you're thinking about plan-wise here?
Yes, it made me think a lot about how many externals.
I'm just changing the color of my pen. Yeah. Because you're basically you've done the revision, you've done the redox, and so now you're on the structure and bonding stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I suppose now, having spoken about titrations, perhaps doing it but not necessarily assessing it.
Yeah. So
I like that idea because it takes a long time to get them up to.
Oh yeah, to get them up to speed.
The assessment.
I'm trying to find a different color.
However, then I feel like I should go back and assess ion identification just to have that safety net of internal credits.
Well, again, it goes back to what are you trying to accomplish?
And I know they can get their credits from other subjects and other avenues.
Yeah.
And I'm not all about getting credits. I'm about teaching them the chemistry. But I don't know if all their parents would agree.
Yeah, I know that feeling. You could also, if you need to, offer holiday workshops. As much as it takes time out of our day-to-day, the kids that are really keen will come in for the workshop.
As an extra for
so let's just say, let's say you want to now decide, oh, actually, I do want to assess ion identification, because I'm very mindful that some of the students or some of the parents would want the kids to have those credits. Instead of offering it during class time, because class time is really precious, and that's for everyone, go, okay, you know what, I need you guys to come in during the school holidays over Easter. I'm here this day, this day, this day, and we will assess ion identification.
I was just thinking, even at the end of the year, when some of their subjects finished, if they're needing more internals, to offer that to them as an extra, especially if they're not going to be doing an exam or a light on credits. Yeah. Yeah,
that works too. Idea. So just when you're thinking about all these things, my bit of advice when trying to cater and personalize it is you want to align as much as possible. So that way it reduces your planning. It also means that you can do one set of cheat sheet that fits both of them, and you can go ooh, well, instruction bonding, because you can make a lot of parallels in here. So you can tell them this is what you need to do at level 2. This is how it's going to bridge to level 3.
Even the students who are sitting back and doing their own work, but listening to the topic, it helps. Yeah. I've noticed that level 3s were tuning into the level 2.
Yeah, it reminds them about what they're doing.
Remind them.
Yeah. The other thing that I find really useful, so I've made a whole webinar series on test anxiety in memory. So I'm planning to email that out next week, but I can email it to you now so you can have a head start on it.
That'd be great.
But one of the things that I talk about is mental load and how much mental load those students can handle, and how to also make sure that things get into a long-term memory. And one of the things that you can do is retrieval practice. So a lot of practice retrieving the information in their brain so that way it builds that pathway. There's a fun little acronym I use called CPR, which is critical practice of retrieval. The kids love that. And there's a whole process in how they're supposed to do it. So I'll just link you to the video so that way you can watch it and I don't have to re-explain it.
Thank you.
But they really like that as a method of learning. And then the other thing that we do a lot of is what I call pre-learning. So instead of me giving them the notes for the day, I go, okay, I want you to do these pages in the SciPad or these pages in the ESA. I'll walk around and help you guys out while you're doing this, but I want you to spend a lesson doing workbook work. So that way, when I give you the notes tomorrow, you are more familiar with what I'm talking about, and it reduces your mental load. So that way, actually more of it goes in. So that's something that you can keep in mind as well, because there's so much parallel between structure and bonding and thermo that you can have them do certain things, and then you can be like, stop. All right, now I just want the year 13s to be focusing, but level 2s, if you want, you can listen in on this. And some of them might want to do the level 3 exams and get ahead of the game, because it could also mean that if they do the level 3 stuff this year, they could do scholarship next year. So it doesn't hurt them to hear or to listen in on these conversations. And then if the year 13s then know this stuff, they can actually help the level 2s with the contents, because it gives them more conceptual understanding of what they're learning. So yeah, that would be kind of my 2 cents. And anything else from this that you're kind of thinking about changing now?
Well, I think your idea of perhaps telling them encouraging them to do one, and then for those who are really keen to do a second external. I mean, I've always individualized and made it their choice, but sometimes making the choice can be
quite hard. I've struggled a lot with that too, because I found that in my program I had many students decide they want to sit both exams and then decide about 2 weeks before the exam actually happens, actually I want to sit one, and they wasted all this time studying for thermochemistry and never actually sitting thermochemistry. So sometimes it is our role as educators to remove the choice, which is what I did here with the level 2s. I removed the choice. That way they focused. Other times it's about having those conversations quite a few times and just recognizing like, hey, I noticed you're not actually putting in the study that needs to be done in order to pass both externals. You might want to think about just dropping one of them. And that's going to be also important to have those relationships with the whānau as well. So you can call them up and let them know like, hey, I noticed that, Johnny is struggling with the material that we're covering in level 3 chem. I know that he wants to sit both exams and he's really keen on it, but can you please have a Kōrerō with him and just talk about what is important to him? Because I would recommend that he would drop one of these exams just based on what I'm noticing. And then you need to know your students and what they want. So like, for example, if Johnny wants to do engineering at Auckland Uni, well, he needs to focus on his calculus and he needs to focus on his physics. He does not need to focus on chemistry, so he should only be doing one chemistry exam. And that's it. Like, he does not need to make things harder for himself. So it's really important to have those relationships at home and to make that contact so that we can have these conversations. And it's not I don't think your kid isn't capable of it. It's just, I need your student or your child to prioritize things in a better way. So, yeah. All right. Anything else? Because I think we're hitting like the natural kind of stopping point.
Yes. It's given me a lot to think about.
Yeah.
And I'll just have to process and make a few decisions over the next few weeks.
Yeah. Well, I hope that kind of, because I want, as much as we want to give the best program possible to our akonga, we also have to be mindful of, we don't want to burn out as teachers. And so that's why when I put together what I would do is that I did compromise on the amount of practical work. Because I know for me, this would make it easier on me planning wise. So, and also I don't think the kids mind having, that they love being believed that they can do the harder stuff. Like if they want to do the level 3 stuff, go for it. Give it a shot. Like, I don't mind. Either it doesn't hurt them to do. Like, the level 2 and level 3 organic, like I was saying, there's not too much of a difference between the two. They just chuck in, like, esters and amides. Like, that's what I feel like is the only thing that really changes.
Yes. So yes, it's not a big jump.
No, and that's what I always tell the kids as well. The jump from level 1 to level 2 is huge and massive. The jump from level 2 to level 3 is, like, a step. So, don't worry too much about level 3 is what I tell them, because it's actually a lot easier. level 2. All right, cool. Well, then, if that's everything, then we should sign off. Feel free to contact me again if you have any other questions, or if you want stuff moderated, or if you need any other resources, and I'll link you to the webinar series that I'm going to launch next week. So you get a head start.
Thank you so much for thinking through the 2 programs and trying to combine them.
Yeah.
I really appreciate your time and
Oh,
help.
no, I'm glad you asked that question, because it was talked about as a possibility at my school, so I needed to know what to do. And also, I love this sort of stuff. Like, I love thinking about my courses as a whole. So, like, I love doing these things. It wasn't a big ask. Anyway, nice meeting you.
Nice to meet you too.
And good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye.
Bye.